Well, hello there. It's Tonya Poole, and welcome to episode number 5 of Spring Alchemy. We are in Gemini season, so today's video is everybody's a Gemini, including you. And I always start the new Spring Alchemy videos with everybody's fill in the blank, including you, because for those of you who happen to know what your sun sign is, right? You may think, oh, I'm a Libra, or I'm a Scorpio, or I'm an Aquarius, or I'm a whatever. And we forget that we all carry all 12 signs of the zodiac somewhere in our birth chart. And since we have officially entered Gemini season, that means we're all feeling the Gemini energy right now. And so we're all kind of like Geminis a little bit right now. Or we're at least all feeling that energy. So that is what this episode is all about. And Spring Alchemy, just like all of the seasonal alchemy episodes, I kind of touch on how each season has its own energy, its own little magic to it, right? And then when we're in that season, if we know how to tap into that particular energy, we can use it to benefit our highest good and, you know, do some wonderful things in the moment and some wonderful things, plant some good seeds for the future. So right now we're in Gemini season. And for those of you who may not really know a lot about Gemini is a very unique kind of vibe, right? So we just got out of Taurus season, and Taurus is the bull. You know, Taurus is all focused on his goals and his dreams. Taurus sometimes gets the reputation of being stubborn, but Taurus is also a it's an earth sign, so it's all about feeling and the tangible, right? What we value that can be touched. Or, you know, money, food, sex, all kinds of earthly things, right? And then just when we get focused on our goals and our dreams and all the Taurus type stuff, we get into Gemini season. And Gemini kind of flips the whole thing around. So Gemini runs from about May 20th, May 21st, somewhere around there until June 20th. And so for during that 30-day period of time, we are all being influenced by this energy, which can best be described as a changeable energy. It likes freedom, it likes self-expression, and it doesn't want to be held down and restricted. So before I go any further, let me tell you a little quick story. So my father, who is a Gemini, he's born during Gemini season, he would always make this statement that I'm in the wind. Like, so if he is ready to leave wherever, like if we're at some family gathering or something and he's ready to go somewhere else, he'll say, I gotta be in the wind. I gotta be in the wind. Or if you ask him, what have you been doing all day? He says, oh, I've just been in the wind. I've been in the wind. And it's like, he never gives like a real concrete answer on, you know, where he was or what he was doing or where he wants to go. He's just always, you know, when he's ready to make movements, he always says that I'm in the wind. And I was thinking about that recently and how so on point he is with that, because with him, his sun sign being the sign of Gemini and Gemini being an air sign, whereas Taurus was an earth sign, Gemini is an air sign. So it's like the Gemini energy likes movement, just like the wind. You can't contain the wind. You can't tell the wind, sit still, be still, don't move, don't go, don't, you know, the wind has to be in constant movement. It has to be constantly going from one place to the next place to the next place. It does not stay still. It's not the nature of air to be stagnant, right? Or to be still, or to even be held and restrained by something other than itself. And so that kind of is the Gemini energy. And it's very interesting because though my sun is in the sign of Virgo, and I think I mentioned this in the previous video, my moon sign is Gemini, which really explains a lot about a lot of things about me, as far as like you know, some of the things that I like to just switch up from time to time to time. And so being in this Gemini season right now is very fruitful to me personally, because I get to learn a little bit more about myself, and hopefully you'll learn a little bit more about you as well. So the Gemini energy it likes to be like the wind. And you may find that during this time, you like to experience new things, travel maybe, learn new things, be around new and different people, or just do some stuff that doesn't even make sense. I mean, look at this. I'm wearing some, I don't know, it's cute, y'all. I don't know if you can see it, but it's like some beaded little something, almost looks like Egyptian or something, the way it kind of looks like, you know, the wings of Ma'at. But I'm in the kitchen. Like, this isn't even practical, right? That's a very Gemini thing, to just do things that sometimes to others does not make sense, or combine two different energies together, you know, and to just have fun with it. So whereas Taurus sometimes can be very serious and focus on what it desires and going after its goals, is followed right behind it comes Gemini, which is just like, oh, no, I can't follow the rules. No, you cannot hold me down. No, I will not just focus on one thing. I've got to focus on this and that and this and that. And I've got to see what's going on here, and I got to know what's going on there. And so Gemini, the sign of Gemini, kind of rules the social media. If you think about Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat, like, it's constantly changing. That's very Gemini energy. It likes to know what's happening right now, and the next minute, and the next minute, and the next minute. You know, it never stays on one thing too long, because it has to know all things. It has to kind of touch on all things. And so you may find yourself feeling that right now. There's a changeable feeling that happens during the Gemini season, between now all the way, even if you're not feeling it right now, once we really get into the month of June, and the first few weeks of June, you'll really feel like you're shifting from spring to summer. You'll feel that shift. You'll feel that change. And so we'll all be feeling that type of energy. So spring alchemy, we began with Aries season. Aries, one of the key words to Aries is I am. It's all about who I am coming into existence. And if you go back and watch that video, everybody's in Aries, including you. I talked about a friend of mine who has a little niece who just discovered that she has feet. She's about, I think she just turned 1. But a few months ago, she was looking down at her feet and holding her, you know how babies do, like they're so flexible. She was bending her little feet up to her mouth, and she was looking at them and like, wow, I've got feet. Like, what can I do with these things? And now she's walking. She's walking about, and she is able to hold things and do certain things that she wasn't even able to do just a few months ago. That's kind of like Taurus. So she moved from the Aries type of energy of just discovering that she exists into Taurus, which I like to call Taurus sometimes can be like the terrible twos. Like the Taurus energy is can be very so determined. If you've ever seen a 2-year-old very determined to do something, they don't want your help. They're focused on what they want. They know what they want, and they will throw a tantrum if they can't get what they want, or they can't do something that they want to know how to do. That's like the Taurus energy going into those terrible twos. And then after that is Gemini, where we are now, which I like to call like a 3-year-old. And if you notice a 3-year-old, how they differ from a 2-year-old is that they've already, you know, they're a little bit beyond the terrible twos thing. Now they just want to self-express. They want to dress themselves. They want to talk. They may talk a lot. They may ask the question, why, a lot. So if you say, we have to go and get in the car, why? We have to go to the store, why? You have to brush your hair. Why? You know, they always want to know why. They're very, very curious. And so that's very much in line with the Gemini energy. Gemini is very curious. It wants to know about other people, other places, what's happening in the news, what's happening on Facebook, what's happening on Instagram. You know, if you watch Gemini people, sometimes it's hard to even feel like you have their full attention, because they will be in a room with you, having a conversation with you, and they might also be on their phone, or they might also be thumbing through a book, or they might also be kind of looking past you and looking at what's happening behind you. But what's so interesting about Gemini, to everybody else, is like, gosh, they're so, what do you call it? Like when somebody is short attention span. But to the Gemini, they don't feel that they have a short attention span, because they are very much aware a lot of times of what you said, what that person is saying behind you at the same time, what that text message said. They check their email. They know all of this stuff that's happening simultaneously, and they're very much aware of it. So that is kind of like when you think about that 3-year-old, you know, they're very much aware of what's happening everywhere. They have to kind of touch on everything, right? And I'm not saying, you know, that, you know, a Gemini is immature or anything like that. Even though in astrology, sometimes they are, that Gemini energy is referred to as very childlike. And so this is a time where we may feel very childlike, not so serious, you know, not so disciplined and so driven and focused, but more curious like a child, wanting to experience different things, wanting to be in different social groups or gatherings, and just wanting to know. What's very interesting, though, about the Gemini energy is that it wants to know a lot about everything and everyone else, but everything and everyone else may know very little about it or her or him or whatever, right? So because this time of year, or people who carry a strong Gemini energy are kind of like the wind, right? They're flowing like the wind. You don't know much about the wind, but the wind knows much about everything else, right? So I'll give an example, like a bird, for example. A bird, you know, flies in the air. It likes the wind, right? But a bird needs to know that that tree branch is right there, and it can land on that branch, and then it can fly over here and it can land on that branch, and then it can, you know, land right here on the ground. And so basically what I'm saying is the bird that's in the air likes to know that it can move, but it doesn't like for everything else around it to move, because it wants to make sure it likes its own personal freedom, but it needs to know that that tree is going to be there so it can land on it. It needs to know that the ground is going to be there so it can land on it. The same way like a 3-year-old. A 3-year-old likes to jump and move and do all kind of stuff that when you're an adult and you're watching them is scary, right? But to that 3-year-old, as long as they know that that chair is there and they can fly in the air and jump on it, or they can jump off the steps or do all of these things that scares everybody else, they're okay. And so with the Gemini energy, or during Gemini season, we want to, as we are feeling curious and as we're feeling like the wind and wanting to move and learn and you know, just discover the world around us in new different ways, we also want to be sure that where we land is secure, you know, because we may feel the energy of movement. We may feel the energy of change and wanting to explore and find different, learn different things, or just know different things, right? But we want to make sure that where we go, or wherever we land is secure. The interesting thing about Gemini energy is that even if where it lands isn't secure, it's okay, because it trusts itself enough to fly up again and land somewhere else. So basically, Gemini is very free. It likes to be free, and it likes to be able to express itself wherever it is. If it's Gemini energy is not the same everywhere it goes. In other words, it changes based on where it is. And so you may find yourself, if you're in one group circle of friends, you may act a certain way. And then when you're with a different group of friends, you may act a completely different way. You may find yourself wearing beads in the kitchen. You may find yourself, however you want to express yourself over the next 30 days, you just may feel this urge to do it. And there may be no rhyme or reason to it. There may be no explanation to it, but it's just the way you're feeling in that moment. And that's a very Gemini thing. Anytime you try to tell Gemini energy to be and act a certain kind of way, it's going to do the opposite. That's why it's the twins, right? It's the two, you know, the symbol of Gemini is the twins, you know, one, some people say one is good and one is bad. One is light, one is dark. One is disciplined and focused, and one is mischievous, you know. So, and both of those twins are the same person, you know. We all have multiple sides to ourselves. We don't, we're not just one-dimensional. Gemini season reminds us that we are not one-dimensional people. We like to explore. We like to have fun. Then we might like to be serious. Then we might like to read. Then we might like to be on the internet. Then we might, you know, Gemini season gives us the freedom to explore all parts of ourselves. So I feel like I've kind of been all over the place, and I was about to apologize for that, but I'm not, because that's very Gemini kind of way. It makes sense in my mind what I've said. So that even that is very Gemini in nature. I'm so feeling this energy right now. Gemini is whatever it wants to be, whenever it wants to be it, however it wants to be it, because it wants to. And we want to, during Gemini season, be a part of everything, explore everything, feel everything, try everything, and not be restricted. We want to feel free, you know, like a 3-year-old child. We want to feel free. So embrace the freedom. Have fun, you know, embrace your own freedom and try new things. Do things that you thought that you would never do. I mean, obviously within reason. But just have fun. Have fun during this time. So that's pretty much it for this video. Behind me, if you can see right there, is The Magic of Self-Love, my book, The Magic of Self-Love. You can get that on Amazon. Also, I would love it if you would like, subscribe, share this video, comment, and let me know what you learned from it or how it's been beneficial to you. And until next time, I'm wishing you much peace and love. The next video will be how to self-care during Gemini season. Talk soon.